Welcome. I'm June Bayha, CEO of Bayha Group. This is my weekly live stream show, Co-Design Work with Wonder. And today we have a special guest who is our client success, and that's Garry Pearson from Davis Joint Unified School District. But before we bring Garry on board, I wanted to just share again my vision mission for Bayha Group, because it's something I've been practicing and wanted to share it with each live stream so you know what my why is. So we are galvanized by the need for equity and social justice. Bayha Group supports under-resourced public schools by securing millions of dollars in grant funding to implement programs inspiring youth to claim their power and use their voice as heroes in their life's journey. So with that, I wanted to really talk about the grants that we've been working on. And recently, last week when we posted this live stream, we said it was $10 million for Davis Joint Unified. And now I'm going to bring Garry on. So Garry Pearson, my esteemed colleague from the Davis Joint Unified School District. Hi, Garry.
Hey, hi, Jen. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for being on our live stream.
Yeah.
So Garry, tell us, what do you do at the school district?
Most of the time I'm in my man cave, which you'll see in my background, so pardon the man cave mess. I work, the last 2 years I've been working for DJUSD as a career technical education grant manager. And I just really kind of fell into the position. I just kind of retired from UC Davis, where I spent 37 years working on the campus, working with researchers and working actually in greenhouses. So when I transitioned into grant management, it was kind of a switch. And I had to learn a lot of new things. Working in an educational system, in just a regular school system versus a university system is night and day. They speak different languages. So I had to learn 2 new languages. I had to forget about my university language and learn the educational systems languages. So that was a learning curve for, about 6 months. So I have a whole new vocabulary in that world. But what I really do is I come alongside 12 career technical education instructors, and that encompasses what we call pathways. And pathways are representative of the various sectors in our California economy, and you probably don't recognize them as sectors, but they're actually some of the fabric of what goes on in this great state. Anyway.
Well, so actually tell us where Davis is, because I'm based in San Diego and you are far from San Diego.
Yeah.
So yeah. Davis, for those who might not know, where, so you
are. Davis lies about 14 miles west of the state capital, which is Sacramento, California. We are still in a semi-rural environment, though we have a university that's been here for over 100 years. We sit primed in an agricultural sector, but we're also a region that is close to the state capital, and also the industrial sectors and lots of things going on. We're a very vibrant community, and Davis is known for its intellectual and academics. So in dealing with a lot of things we do here in CTE, it's kind of hidden and not known. So.
Yes. So I actually didn't meet Garry first from the district. I was introduced to the district because of an architect. So our team has been working on CTE facilities grants. And so the architect introduced my company to Roddy, who's Roddy in the district? He has a fancy title.
Roddy Blinchoy is the associate superintendent that reports to the superintendent, and his colleague is Troy Allen, who does instructional services for the district. And those are my supervisors. So.
Right. Yeah, so I was introduced to Roddy through the architect, and then Roddy and I actually turned out to have mutual friends. And from that, we really hit it off. And from there, he hired Bayha Group to work on, and he says to me during the phone call, he says, June, we need 4 CTE facilities grants written. And it was about a 6-week turnaround time, maybe. And so my first trip was to go to Davis and visit the facilities. And so we worked on those grants, and Garry, you were actually traveling at that point. Roddy was really my contact. The teachers were my contact. And so I actually want to bring up what we submitted, because we ended up submitting all 4 grants. And I'm going to just show people, because we're pretty proud of this. It was a lot of work. Our team pulled an amazing feat. I believe we wrote 9 facility grants. We wrote 4 of them just for Davis. And so this was what we submitted. And it's pretty cool. These were for buildings. So Garry, tell us, we submitted these last year, and this year, what happened?
Well, we received word from they're called facility grants. So I'll speak a little bit of jargon, CTEFGs. We were awarded roughly $9 million. What was beneficial is we had matching funds from our district bonds. And those grants, 4 grants that were submitted, were fully funded, which is a miracle in itself. June and I worked very closely alongside. I do recall last year, just before Thanksgiving,
yes,
of doing massive submittals, and we were sequestered in a room in the district office, and we just cranked. So it was a lot of hard work, a lot of heavy lifting, and without the support of the district and the administrators, we wouldn't have succeeded. So we worked pretty hard on that, and
it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. The teachers were super involved. We had I had conversations with parents, with people who had to submit letters of support. It was a huge community effort. And I mean, when Roddy said to me we needed all 4 because of how the funding worked, and it was like this, I can't remember the term he used, but essentially we needed all of them. And I remember thinking, going back to the team, going, okay, we got this, we can do this. And it was really rewarding to feel like all of that work. We did work over Thanksgiving, because the Department of Education made the deadline right after Thanksgiving last year. So thankfully I have family in Sacramento, and I stayed at a hotel. They were at my in-laws, and Garry and I hung out at the district office and worked on these grants, and we drove them to the Department of Education.
Yes, that was a unique experience of driving to the downtown Sacramento and handing over about a foot of paper down at the California Department of Education. We have a picture of that. That's one of the most memorable pictures in my life, handing a stack of paper that was submitted. And it's very rare that we do paper submittals these days. Everything seems to be electronic, but those group of submittals were all paper. So.
Yes. And we had to have multiple copies. So we were like making all these copies, or hundreds of pages, a grant. It was this huge effort. And the woman at the CDE, she was our receipt. I said to her, after I handed over the 4 envelopes, I said, can I take a picture of you so we have justification that you received these?
Yes. Well, we had gone a few extra miles in doing all of those grant write-ups, and working extremely hard, and working with the architects, the district, again, the teachers. And actually, a lot of times we were plugging away with students, and I'd spend some of my time asking students questions. Hey, what if we do this? What if we do that? How's that going to impact the facilities if we do these kinds of things? Right. So it was, you got input from all the different, what I call constituents. And really that is quite helpful. One of I consider my strengths as being connected throughout the district within the CTE instructors that I work with, because they're on the front lines. They're doing the distance learning right now. So they're right there in the midst, trying to instruct the students at all levels. So yeah, I stay connected.
So we have a question that came
Yeah.
up that said, well, what would have happened? What challenges would have been faced if you didn't get those grants? What would have happened if the facility grants didn't get funded?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't think we even considered not getting funding. Um, because our vision of what we wanted to do and try to achieve, our facilities and those grants, we have aging facilities. Some of those facilities haven't been rejuvenated or built out new since the 60s. So we needed a shot of adrenaline and a shot of funding to really get us going. So we would have rethunk, even if we got partial, we'd have to rethink what our priorities are. And that's quite common to do in projects of these scope and nature. If you get X number of dollars, then you take the dollars and make it work. So we would have had to do some rethinking, revisioning a bit. And we might have come back and said, okay, we're going to reapply for another set of CTEFG. Fortunately, we got full funding. And where it stands now, those are in process. We hope to have that all built out by 2023. When you build these kind of facilities and revision things, most people don't realize you just don't turn the switch on. It's many months of planning. So the part of getting the grant and funding was extremely important. The part of the execution is even more important as we go through and do things. So,
Right.
Right.
So
So
I don't know why it
I don't
sounds
know why it
funny.
sounds funny.
Anyways,
Anyways,
how have you
how have
seen
you
the
seen
programs grow at the district?
how do I see the programs growing in the district? Is that your question?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what we're trying to achieve now with some of our other follow-up grants and working with the Bayha Group is working in the K-12 grants and looking at specific and strategies and what we're trying to achieve for the students in all of those pathways. So our pathways are transportation, agriculture, architecture and engineering. Robotics is a very strong group. Digital media, video, network, cybersecurity, and our latest one is actually health sciences. So looking at patient care and how we come alongside and support those instructors and getting the resources they need to provide a high quality and a long-term type program. So having these grants in place are really important as we build things out. So a great example is our health sciences. We just started here in the fall, and we had 92 students sign up. That tells us that we've hit the target.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so the digital, go ahead.
This is during the pandemic.
Yeah, this is during pandemic. Yes, and even digital media, arts, and all that. We have a still very strong and robust interest in all of those pathways. Yes, it's distance learning. That creates challenges. And having the resources and having grant funds that we can actually pivot and change how we do things. That's what we're facing right now. In the pandemic, how do we pivot and still provide instruction? Those things are really important to us right now. My role is sometimes I have to negotiate with our regional folks and explain what we're trying to do and achieve. Just last week, I had a piece of equipment that was worth about $20,000. I have to get approval. But I explained to the regional people why we needed to do that and how it affects a significant number of students, and that does get approved. So, yeah. You also have to know the educational code a bit. So that's something I had to learn.
There's a lot of learning curves, right, Gary?
Oh, yes.
I wanted us to share some big news we just found out yesterday.
Yes.
So you just forwarded some emails to me because we wrote a couple grants, and actually even after the facility grants, you and I worked on a couple grants that both got funded. And then this year, we were fortunate enough to have additional funding to be able to apply for with the K-12 Strong Workforce Grants from the California Community College's Chancellor's Office. And so I can believe that they're both fully funded for the district.
Yes. Yes.
So it's okay. You tell me the math. How much is it from yesterday?
Well, with both grants fully funded, that's about 1.4 million for the next 30 months. There's the two grants themselves. One is called Equity and Alignment. The alignment part is looking at the academic alignment between starting in 7th grade all the way through 12th grade and even beyond. Because I look at dual enrollment and articulated agreements. Those are little side projects I get involved in. But it all connects to students and student achievement and outcomes in those pathways. So that's actually really good. So that's the equity and alignment. The other is what really excites me is Project Inspire. Our district, I give a high kudos to because when I first came on, we did a lot of regional type visits to a lot of different school sites in our region. And we were looking at what is the best practice, what makes them good at what they do. So when we came across Project Inspire down in another district, we said, how are we going to do that Davis style? Because we're a community that has a little bit different business focus. We're not necessarily industrial, but we have a lot of local business. So how are we going to do that Davis style? So we designed this Project Inspire. We were thinking what we learned about down in the other school district. And that's where we are right now. Now that we have that funding secured, we can proceed and make some real impacts and support the students for many years to come. So I feel very fortunate to be part of that. So
I know. It's been amazing. So what are the plans for future projects? So we talked a little bit about what the grants and
well, that was what we were actually talking about this morning a little bit. Some of our project plans is looking at what we call work-based learning, internships for our students, apprenticeships, how we build those things out, how are we going to do that in a pandemic climate. And there are ways to do that. And again, the Bayha Group has come alongside to help our district kind of format that and look at the process. I think the Bayha Group has got some things that they've already achieved that we can apply here in Davis. And again, it's what I learned from the many years of doing kinds of things like this is start small, build it out right, and then expand it. So eventually, maybe not the first year, we'll start small. We'll look at this work-based learning in our community and in our region. And so as we expand upon that, as we get connected with the local businesses a little bit more, as we look at our advisory groups and the group that we're going to be working with primarily right now is a transportation group. They have a very strong advisory group, and those people are well connected within the community. So from that project hopefully will expand. And then I must say that when we start building, those buildings take time. And I'm sure I'll be in the middle of that. I have a lot of project management experience from my previous UC Davis. I built numerous greenhouses on campus, so I know a lot about construction.
so we have another question that was about how do you prioritize the grant funding to the different programs?
Well, I'm a person that looks at equity. I look at, okay, I've got one pathway that has a high need for specialized equipment. How do I balance that with another pathway that doesn't have that but has other needs? So in the budgeting process, when I look at that and I only have so many dollars that I can fund, I have to look at it in a balanced manner. I can't choose favorites. My background is ag. I could choose ag and fund all of the ag pathways. But, that's not fair to the rest of those 5 pathways. And you have to learn what those needs are, frankly, because each of those pathways has different needs. And then you have to make a budget decision. Okay, I can fund X, but I also balance that with, okay, I can fund X over here. And so I examine that quite closely. and say, okay, is that fair to all of that? So sometimes I make a point system. I'll have a 1 to 5 point system and evaluate it that way. So I become objective in what I do. And there are times where we get in crisis modes, like who'd have thought of a pandemic? Last week, I had to approve some emergency funding. Hey, that's okay. That happens. So once the instructor told me what he was doing and I talked to him, and he says, Gary, I really need to get this out to my students. I said, I understand. And I approved all of those purchase orders so he could get the resources into the students' hands. So, you have to look at it in a lot of different aspects. But you have to look at it in a balanced and equitable way. Right. I would say a few years ago in our district, that was a little challenging. So I'll leave that one alone.
And one more question.
Yeah.
So do you have advice to give other districts looking to hire grant writers?
When you hire grant writers?
Yes.
Yes. I look at people, that do grant writing. What have they been successful at? And how would we utilize their skills and abilities and knowledge in our situation? And, sometimes you don't have time to interview, but you have colleagues that have, you can go and ask. And I think that's where we come into the network. So if I was looking at hiring grant writers, frankly, there are many grant writers out there. What stands out about the Bayha Group is that her team is multi-disciplinary. Grant writers, as I learned this process, I now know what a particular person does when they say slashing. And that's when you slash words. And because I know we wrote some stuff, and June says, well, let me give it to the slasher. What's a slasher? I learned what a slasher was. So, those are unique skills. And I look at the intangibles. Just last week I was doing an interview panel, and, when you have to look at things that look equal, how do you make a decision? I look at what's been presented in front of me, and I look at the intangibles. How do they communicate? How do they develop relationships? Success is part of it. Okay, the Bayha Group has been quite successful. What makes them that way? What are those intangibles that they bring to the table? And I look at that really closely. Have I been right all the time? No, but I've been pretty good at it. So when the Bayha Group came alongside as a high recommendation, I do my web searches too, so I know what's out there.
I'm so curious. What did you find, Gary?
Oh, many secrets.
Yeah, it's important that there is synergy, that there's shared values.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work, and it really makes a difference who our partners are, and that we care about similar. I mean, really fundamentally, what inspired me to want to work in Davis was the commitment of the instructors, the administrators, how we had so many alumni who provided letters of support.
Oh gosh, yes.
It's those things that were just such a testament. There were so many parents who wrote letters of support, and I had never had so many letters of support for so many grants. And it was people who were just so excited to support the schools. There are boosters in your community, and I have to say, it's the first time I've had a superintendent give me lines of edits. I mean, everybody cared so much about all of these grants. It was this huge team effort that the superintendent during that Thanksgiving break really did read every word of the grants. And so it just is, it's a privilege to work with you all in Davis, Gary. Yeah. And I'm so grateful and excited for the news that we got yesterday and for the programs that we will be rolling out coming this spring. So I'm gonna just thank you and end our live stream, but make a plug that next week we're doing another client success story, which would be John Harris from Downey.
Downey. Yeah.
John Harris from Downey Unified. I got a little messed up because my first person that I worked with in Downey is Phil Davis. And so it's one of those that I go Davis. And so they work for both communities for me. So anyways, stay tuned for John Harris from Downey Unified next Thursday at 3 p.m. And Garry, thank you so much for joining us on our live stream. The interns hosted this, and it was really great to have you today. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, Garry.